Thanks for watching the TMC Newsroom. My name's Rich Tehrani. We're at Interop 2012 in Las Vegas, Nevada. On our program is Sethuraman. He is the Senior Director of Product Management at Motorola Solutions. Rad, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Rich.
So I thought we'd start out by just talking about your company and how it's different from the other Motorola companies.
Absolutely. So Motorola, as you know, last year we split into two entities, Motorola's Mobility and Motorola Solutions. We are part of Motorola Solutions, really focused on two major markets, government and enterprise. And within the enterprise division, again, the other part of the company, Motorola Mobility, is the company that does the mobile units, mobile devices, and the one that was in the news for being sold to Google. On our side, it's a very, on the enterprise side, we have a portfolio of products that talks to very specific retail markets like retail, transportation, logistics, and others. We have a slew of networking communication products. We have devices for mobile computers, barcode scanners, RFID readers, and the like. So that's who we are as Motorola Solutions. And on the government side, it's about public safety and two-way radios and the infrastructure behind that.
And that's a big area right now, government safety and wireless networks, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's an important area for Motorola, and within enterprise, it's a growth segment for our company as well.
So what trends are you seeing?
So from a wireless networking standpoint, some of the key things we are seeing in enterprise networks is it's around how we can handle the influx of new devices. There is a lot of new devices coming onto the network. People are worried about how do we manage this complexity. Mobility, enterprise mobility is a key aspect of this whole trend, where people, devices, and networks, people, devices, and applications are on the move. And so how do you manage this whole mobility problem? So in addition, what enterprises are looking at is the whole phenomenon around BYOD. How do I enable these devices coming onto the network? So if we kind of stop back and look at this whole problem, the Wi-Fi network becomes a critical piece of this whole thing. It's the center of this whole action. So how can this network do more? How can we enable a richer set of applications from within the network? So this whole application centricity for networking becomes a key trend that I think people are worried about.
Now, that's a big area of focus for you as well, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, you've got products that are in that, I guess, in that arena that you want to tell us about?
Yeah, so we have our portfolio on the enterprise side, and the wireless networks and communications. It's around the Wi-Fi network. It's around a set of communication products. And what we are specifically launching today at Interop is a new Wi-Fi access point, AP8132, which is really redefining what an access point could be in terms of flexibility it brings to the table in terms of new application enablement.
What sorts of applications?
So the AP8132 is really a unique design. So we started the design. It's a unique design. It's a modular access point. So you get the basic Wi-Fi services, but in addition, it has a modular option. So you can actually slot in modules which are based on USB interfaces, which can enable things like, for example, the possibilities are limitless, right? There could be really a lot of different applications that you can turn on. So if you look at it, you can have a third radio module which says I can enable richer security for my wireless networks. I can enable richer troubleshooting for that network, or I can have a module that works with the energy management system. So really, the possibilities are limitless with this kind of a model. So a customer an enterprise IT can deploy an access point, and as their needs evolve, this is a pluggable module that can be added in a seamless fashion down the road in a deployed network. So it's really kind of future-proofing the network for new capabilities coming out of that from an application perspective.
So do you think that the newness of it is because of the fact that these are modular devices that you can plug in, and and because they are not just radios, because there are access points where you can upgrade the radios as technologies come out,
Right.
802.11n or whatever the latest technology is. But what you're talking about is now actual apps that will sit on these little modules that you plug in via USB.
Absolutely. So it is. We have two USB interfaces on the access point, and these are ruggedized modules that can go into those access points and essentially enable new set of capabilities. So it's not necessarily just core Wi-Fi, but we're talking about, can I enable, make it easy, for example, video surveillance and other video is becoming important in enterprise networks. Can I make it easy for deploying these kind of hardware applications that are dependent a little bit on the hardware pieces, so that I cut down on the cost, cut down on the complexity of rolling out these applications which are tied to the infrastructure.
So work with me on this video example that you're giving me. So video is important. What would that application be that sits on that USB device?
So in that video example, it could be just to say, I have a kind of a fan out of PoE port. So instead of having to run a long cable all the way from the camera all the way to my back-end switch in the closet, I can have video cameras attached directly to the access point. So there's a module which leverages the interfaces available, the power requirements that are needed, as well as the PoE requirements that are needed, all being delivered at the edge, at the ceiling. So the cable runs become shorter, it's easier to deploy, and easier to kind of reduce the cost of rolling out.
So that's a USB module?
That's a USB module.
So there's no limitation, it's USB 3.0 then?
It is, yes.
So okay, that's, I don't remember the exact specs, but that sounds, you can do a lot of video, especially if it's compressed video. Okay, so I got it. So that's one way. Okay, so you reduce the cable runs, and it just makes life a lot easier, especially if you're in an area where it's expensive to run those cables.
Let me talk about another example.
Sure.
Right? So we are actually demonstrating this in our booth here, and that is really using this module to talk to kind of from an energy management perspective. So you have an application that is as a web front end that connects to this module that is now going to be talking to a light sensor. Let's take an enterprise, a retail store perhaps. At certain times of the day, they want to turn off some lights after business hours. So here you have an interface to actually control that and actually have the AP be managing your the lighting in the environment. So it really then says I can now talk to overlay sensor networks and have this access point be kind of the central point from which I can manage a larger framework. So I cut down on the complexity of having to manage multiple overlay networks and simplify the management piece.
So what are some of the next things we can expect?
So again, expanding on this whole, what we have focused on this year, as we talked about the trends in terms of how the network is being asked to do more to enable a richer set of applications. We have expanded that problem to say, how can we do more application centricity into our networks? So we launched earlier this year a series of branch solutions. So if you look at how do I bring this both from a branch standpoint as well as from a central data center or NOC perspective. So if you look at the branch, how can I bring together networking, communications, applications? Is there a convergence that I can drive so it becomes easy to kind of not only consolidating the number of devices that you have to deploy, but provide a seamless experience in terms of managing these different sources. So we have NX controllers which can deliver wired wireless networking plus voice PBX functionality. In addition, it has a virtualized engine so I can start to turn on certain applications in that one solution. And everything gets managed as a single entity. Now if you take that, if you look at enterprises today, they're getting more and more distributed, more and more users are mobile.
Sure.
How do I manage this? So if a large distributed enterprise, they don't have necessarily an IT person expert in every location. So to give that same visibility from a centralized solution, so we are driving convergence at the NOC from a management perspective, from a security perspective. So you can do network management, security management, applying policies for the whole network, bring in things like telephony management, device management, bring them all together from a NOC standpoint so that somebody sitting at a central location can get tremendous visibility into what is happening on the different locations from a networking application perspective, and also be able to drive policies and troubleshoot from a central location. So end of the day, it's about simplifying the network, making the solutions easy to manage, reducing the cost for the enterprise.
Excellent. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Rich. Thanks for the opportunity to talk.